I will come now to my next panelist, Elizabeth NSIMADALA. Elizabeth, you're from Uganda, and you are an agripreneur and a smallholder farmer. And you're also, and that's important, the president of the Eastern African Farmers Federation and African representative in the board of the World Farmers Organization. So you have both experience. You are leading on an organization, but at the same time, you are an agripreneur, you are a smallholder farmer, you're working on the ground, and we're really interested also to listen and to hear from your experience being involved in the national pathways, in the development, and maybe there was already some implementation and action happened. And if you have maybe any positive process, and also how you could explain a little bit how the engagement was in your country. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Martina, and distinguished excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by, first of all, acknowledging and paying tribute to JRT for inviting the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation to be part of this dialogue. So just to pick it from where Eilish stopped, of course, us as a regional farm organization like AFA, I would like to state that we've also been part of the UN Food System Summit process. We were involved and we fully engaged in the independent dialogues in the pre-summit, but also during the summit. But one key thing that I want to point out is just post the summit. I think the momentum has really reduced, because post the summit, then the UNFSS coordination hub was put together. But as a regional farm organization, and not only just speaking as EAFF, but also when I look at Pan-Africa Farmers Organization, we really don't see a very critical role that we have to play when it comes to our engagement with the coordination hub, because most of their work is at national level, overseeing and coordinating, you know, the implementation of the national pathways and the reporting mechanism. So it's more from national to the global level. And when you look at all these other structures, the regional, the continental ones, and institutions like African Union, we don't see really how they directly, you know, interact with a coordination hub. So there's really some bit of a challenge, and I think it needs to be taken up so that it can be really addressed. So back to the national pathways. Yes, I would like to state that as farmers organizations at national level, most of our member organizations, they were involved, especially when it came to you know, putting together the national pathways. But what happened, or what is happening currently when it comes to the implementation? I would like to state that it's more said than done. Yes, majority of the stakeholders really appreciate farmers' involvement, that it's very key. But when it comes to practicability in terms of the implementation, it's really lacking. Majority of the stakeholders, they really assume that they understand farmers' problems, but this is through a helicopter view. They look at agriculture as a routine work for us, and yet for us, it's a business. Yes, you're called, you're involved in the, you know, putting together the national pathways and all that. But then when it comes to the implementation, we see less involvement of our farmers in the implementation process. Some countries in my region, when I talk of a country like Rwanda, for example, they involve farmers fully in consultations, but also in the implementation. In some cases, they have even gone a step further to use national farmers organizations as service providers. Institutions like Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, they're involved in issues of you know, youth, in issues of innovation, technologies, extension. We have other members like Ingabo, Imbaraga, they're involved in some of the value chains that they are engaged in. But I want to say that this is just maybe one case among the many countries. So we really need to see other countries also, you know, upping up their game to fully involve farmers in the implementation of the national pathways. There are some isolated cases of involvement. I would say it's there, but we really need to see how we can scale that and make sure that we improve and we involve farmers fully so that we can look at ourselves as equal partners. When it comes to our involvement, yes, it's been there, but not to the level that we want it. But we have also involved ourselves in and led some processes that have been successful, especially the policy processes. Policy, lobby, and advocacy is a major thrust area of our strategic plan as the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. And therefore, as an institution, we've really built enough capacity around it. And this is through the regional secretariat, but also our membership. We've identified different tools. For example, we've adopted the FACT methodology, the Farmers Advocacy Consultation Tool. This majority of you might know that it has been promoted by AgriTerra. So we also domesticated it to assist us in identifying some of the priority policy issues. So there are several examples where our member organizations have really taken lead in engaging with governments in policy processes. We've influenced several of them at national level, but also at subnational level. I want to point out cases in Uganda, for example, with the New Cafe during the coffee policy process, in Burundi through CAPAD's involvement with the national law, the cooperative national law of Burundi. But I want to highlight one regional experience with us, the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, which is the East Africa Cooperative Societies Bill 2015, where as a regional organization, we took lead and championed the process of having a regional law to facilitate the regional integration. And this was out of a need by our membership. They believed in cooperatives as a special purpose vehicle for economic transformation. So how did our process or our experience look like? Of course, we held internal consultations with our membership. We conducted studies looking at the cooperative laws in the East Africa community countries, but also other countries like Ethiopia, like the UK, like India. We engaged with the East Africa Legislative Assembly Committee on Agriculture. We identified a champion to lead this process because we could not do it direct in the parliament. So we identified Honorable Michael Sebaru. By then, he was the member of parliament representing Uganda in Iyara. We partnered with other institutions like the cooperative, like Moshi University, and we had champions like the late Professor Chambo, who was a lecturer then at Moshi University, and he helped us in putting all these ideas together, plus other consultants. So we mobilized resources, of course, to facilitate the public consultations in all these partner countries. And we mobilized all the ministries, all the cooperative ministries, all the commissioners, the National Apex Organization, civil society organizations, international and national NGOs that are all working in cooperatives in our member states. We had to attend ERA sessions when the law was tabled on the floor of parliament and the bill was passed in 2015. But by the time it was passed, Tanzania was the chair. Now, what has been the challenge? The challenge is that some of these policy processes are also hindered by other processes. At the time the bill was passed, Tanzania was going into elections, and we had the new president of Tanzania coming on board. So when the late Magufuli came on board, the process really stalled, and the bill could not be signed at that point. Much as we had mobilized other heads of states to assent to the bill, we could not get the bill out of Tanzania. So 8 years down the road, the bill has not been assented to. And we are currently pushing again to have the bill assented to. So we really need to, the experience is that what we've learned is that, we need champions, we need resources, we need people who understand the process, we need to involve our national farmers organizations, we need to strengthen capacity of the new leaders to lead the process, but also to understand that the policy process requires a full bottle of patience, because it's not, a give and take. It takes a long process. But also it requires that you are equipped with information. There's need for a lot of capacity building and, of course, resources and time. Thank you, and over to you, Martina.
Yeah, thank